Okay, this video is real short, so I could probably get away with reviewing it just right quick. Here, let me open this in actually a new window and show. Perfect. Easy, easy. Okay. Random.
I don't really
Let's
know
start.
how much you know about me.
So, okay, I want to lay out some context so people aren't going into this completely blind. This video right here that we're gonna see is I guess a debate panel with a bunch of conservatives. I see Carolyn Borisenko, who has said in the past, who said that the Jews wanted the Holocaust to happen or something like that, that Hitler would go to heaven or something. Very, very insane takes. And then we've got John Doyle, who did a video where he tried to debunk the whole, like, love is love, we support queer people sign. He's just a Nazi. And then Blaire White, who is a trans woman, the only trans woman of prominence on the right, who frequently gets blown out because she is trans, and I guess, you know, she did the whole, like, the left are the real transphobic ones bit, but that kind of went away. Like, she hasn't been as active recently because the right has consolidated around the whole anti-trans bit. And then we have, who is this? Lauren Witzke, who I don't know very much about, but I assume she also is a Nazi. Because, let's be real, if she's running with this circle with Carolyn Borisenko and John Doyle, both of whom are Nazis, as in, like, pro-Hitler and anti-Jewish, then there's a strong likelihood that she is a Nazi as well. Yeah, fun night party indeed. I guess when I have, maybe when I'm on a straightaway or something, I could have the opportunity to get this going. No, one red shell? That's lame.
I don't
There we
really
go.
know how much you know about me, but I'm probably the most vocal anti-children transitioning person on the internet. It's what I'm.
Right.
It's well, I let you speak.
Oh,
The
we're
best thing
already
you can do
starting
for
off.
us Is grow out your mustache and tell people not to live like you.
Whoa!
I think it's really funny that she's quoting scripture as a liberal, thinking that she can use it against us as Christians. You know, it's like, oh, it doesn't apply to me, but maybe it'll work on you. And guess what?
Okay,
it doesn't
this-
work. Playing on our Christian compassion and making us be tolerant and accepting of all.
Okay. A lot to unpack already. It has not even been barely 30 seconds. So, it's kind of what I expected, but it was, like, right out the gate. Yeah, these people just hate trans people, and Blaire White, I think more than anything, is naive for thinking that people like this would ever accept her in a million years. And I guess that cements it for me that, yeah, okay, Lauren Witzke is also a Nazi. I've literally never heard anybody other than Nazis talk about trans people this way. You know, pretty blatant stuff. And then she's now, I think, going in on Carolyn Borisenko, who, despite being a Nazi, aestheticizes herself as though she is a liberal. You can see she's got the woke haircut, and she has glasses, which means that she's a liberal, I guess. And, you know, Lauren Witzke is ranting about Christian compassion, which is laughable because all of these people ideologically agree with the Holocaust. Except for probably Blaire White. Blaire White, funnily enough, for how abhorrent Blaire White's views are, she might be the person I am most inclined to be charitable towards on this panel, because her biggest sin in this circle is being naive to think that these people would ever view her as a human being. And of course, I'm actually, like, I'm treating her probably as more of a human than any of these guys ever would, and I don't intend that as some sort of moral virtue as on my part. That's just how horrible these people are. Like, it is not hard to look at Blaire White and acknowledge that she is a woman, but you see Lauren Witzke, like, made some fucking wisecrack about growing a mustache, and like, I don't know, being a man. That's all that occupies these people's brains.
all this diversity, you know what that's left us with? Transgender pedophiles on Twitter saying that your daughter asked for it, your little girl isn't actually a princess, she asked for it when I abuse her. That is where.
What is Blood Waffling about? Also, epic choice of music. That's definitely gonna get me content ID'd or something. I'll try to keep going in small spurts.
We're at. So you're throwing.
Please stop with the music, honestly.
Scripture at me as a liberal
How long does this go for? How long does she talk?
is not. Cannot play the Christian game. We are taking a stand for social conservatism because it matters. So
I think this is just her proselytizing. I think, okay, this is Lauren Witzke proselytizing for several minutes, probably, which I do not support. Don't proselytize, kids. Religion is cringe, and being a missionary is even more cringe.
social issues matter, and
Dude, fucking Carolyn Borisenko and John Doyle, I saw, are like actually trying to say something, and she just keeps going. How is this the whole video? It's the whole video.
using God's word is absolutely subversive, and that's what it's all Blaire White.
Okay, wait. She did at the very end. She's like, and this is all Blaire White. So she's saying some shit about like the ungodly sin of being trans, I guess, and that you are so mired with vice, and I, the white woman, am morally virtuous for being the Aryan race or whatever, and I will be very submissive and breedable for my future husband. That's probably what she's talking about, because, you know, all politics is sex. And this woman definitely had sex on the brain, because she heard trans person, and the first place her mind went was abusing little girls, which is, like, probably even more sus than like, any other combination of things that could have been said on this panel. So, like, bravo for, I guess, ascending past my expectations, or rather descending past them into hell, which is where all of these people belong. When I have a minute, I will try to unpause again. All right.
Murders. You know,
Damn it. Okay.
how many kids saw Blaire White, you know, giving one of her videos? You know, I know Trump is a Catholic.
How many kids saw Blaire White? I don't think Blaire White markets her videos to kids. I think that's talking them down to hell. Yeah, that's where these people all belong. Of course, hell isn't real or anything, but, like, Christ, man. Serves you right. Slaw? I don't know.
Cash cow. I know people love to talk about him and their popularity, but how many children saw her and looked at her and said, you know what, she looks really good. I could do that too, and started transitioning.
Damn! You know what? That's actually a great point. For my side of the political spectrum, she actually, what Lauren Witzke brought up as some sort of dunk is that maybe there would be some kids somewhere that would look at Blaire White and think, wow, she's really pretty. I want to look like her, or I want to be like her, or something. Granted, Blaire White is the worst role model among all trans people to probably say this about, bar, like, I don't know, a couple other extremely niche examples I could think of. But yeah, actually, I think that's good. If a kid sees a trans person online who's doing content creation, and that causes them to think about what they want from themselves, yeah, that's good. If that leads somebody to discover they're trans, then that makes the world better, not worse. Because otherwise, the alternative to that is that they would continue being in that, like, forced heteronormativity, and they would never know, and they would just be miserable. Like, we know that people have very strong feelings of dysphoria when they're they don't identify with the sex they were assigned at birth. You know, there's a lot of research out there to confirm this, that, like, it causes serious mental health problems. In fact, mental health problems that these people were joking about earlier, and that they joke about on the regular. So yeah, actually, it would be great if there was a young kid that saw somebody like Blaire White, maybe not Blaire White herself, and said, wow, she's really pretty, I want to be like her. And then that leads them to transition later. Great. That would make them happy, and that's good. And that's good if they are happy.
and looked at her and said, you know what, she looks really good. I could do that too, and started transitioning. This is about the children.
Also, the fact that she is bringing up as an own that somebody might take a positive lesson from Blaire White and identify her as a positive role model, as something aspirational, speaks incredibly big volumes to what this woman and people on the right in general value as virtues in people, in children, in young boys and girls or whatever. It's not happiness. People on the right don't care about happiness. That's why they look at trans people and they scoff in disgust. They don't want children to be happy because they don't view children as people. They view them as objects to be controlled. And if a kid transitions, that is a deviation from heteronormativity. That is one axis along which it is much harder for parents to control their children as you would property. So, you know, I mean, like, for all of my academic language here, this is just her being a cartoon villain and being like, when children are happy, that's bad and contrary to the wishes of God. Like, I almost don't even need to argue against it. Pay no mind to the fact that I spent, like, 10 full minutes or more arguing against it.
They are coming for our kids, and we are at a point now where we're going to have to take a stand. Will the party go the way of the LGBTQ? Will the party...
That actually confirms what I was saying earlier. They are coming for our kids, as if there's some unified front. Like, no, you're, like, you know who's responsible for the change in your kid's life, ultimately? Your kid. Because they are a person who has moral agency, and who is, like, capable of making certain decisions. A lot of people forget, and this is what I mean when I say that conservatives don't think kids are people. Kids are just smaller humans, you know, capable of some of the decision making right from the outset that larger adult humans are capable of. Obviously, there are some topics that are very complicated and that kids are, like, ill-informed about, and that's, like, what the process of bringing kids up is all about, is to try to make them into informed adults so they can make their decisions on their own later, so they need help throughout childhood. But ultimately, you know, 5-year-old me is still me in the sense that I'm a human being with thoughts, feelings, and, like, a brain. I'm not like a chunk of meat that belongs to my parents. You know? How am I in first after all this? I don't understand.
You know, we already have a
okay, I'm not. That's the
transgender
answer.
man,
That's the
woman,
answer.
I don't know, in California running the Federation for Republican Women. You know, are we going to let this stand, or are we going to choose to stay with the nuclear family and support the nuclear family? Because from what I've seen from these LGBTQ activists, such as Richard Brunel, who's an absolute pervert, he refuses to stand up for transgenders in the military, against transgenders in the military.
I don't know what she's waffling about here.
And make a public statement that...
Fun fact 3, according to new research from some big brains from London, your mind is done with growing at the age of 30 instead of the previous 20 to 25. Yeah, there isn't really that line, that line of when is your mind done growing. That's incredibly hard to draw. And in fact, from what we understand of how the brain forms connections, you're never done growing and learning, right? That happens throughout your whole life, up until the point that you die. You are capable of, and still are, learning new things. Your brain is making new connections and exercising existing ones. It's like, I don't know, there's like a logarithmic curve, but yeah, like even if you want to say like where you get very close to that top point there, it keeps being later and later than we think it is. So we're kind of left to identify the point where it's safest to say, okay, now you're capable of more or less engaging with the world on your own and like doing certain things associated with adulthood, getting a job, drinking, having a sex life or whatever, because we trust that you're now responsible enough to do those things without outside help necessarily. And for most countries, that age is 18. There are some countries where it's a bit lower, some countries where it's a bit higher, I think. But 18 seems to be a pretty good spot to set that age of majority. And of course the implication of this tangent, and what I'm trying to get at by talking about the psychology of like a developing human brain or whatever, is that these people are all invoking these arguments disingenuously. They don't actually care about whether or not their argument is correct. For them, trans people being bad and degenerate is an a priori value. If you were to take one of their seemingly more scientifically minded arguments and disprove it, they wouldn't accept that they are wrong. They would simply move to another argument, if that makes sense. Because no amount of data or information about how people grow and change over the course of their lives, how kids are actually people, none of that will convince them because they don't care. Also, this is one of the things that make conservatives borderline anti-debatable, or like undebatable, is because they'll go on crazy, like, borderline schizophrenic rants like this. It's like they're just completely shadowboxing. They're talking about things that aren't there, like, oh, trans pedophiles coming after your kids. Like, does one person in the world exist like that? Sure, probably. I haven't seen any news about that. But does this exist as a real trend and a real problem affecting people on a real scale? No. Let me resume this video here.
Hey, men
Content ID, please spare me for this music.
shouldn't be in women's bathrooms. That's because they're bought.
Okay, obligatory bathroom talking point. The U.S. court system disagrees with conservatives on this, by the way. Multiple judges have ruled that, no, you do not have the right to trans-free bathrooms. Trans people can use the bathroom that they identify with, because it's the fucking bathroom.
Sold and paid for by these LGBT donors who have seen an opportunity. Trump was a cash cow. He was. You talk about him, and you are, had a different look or whatever. People would throw them.
She's gone on like 7 different tangents up to this point. I actually don't know what she's on about
Like,
now.
oh, look how inclusive we are, but we're sacrificing everything. And when it comes down to it, I choose preserving the life of little children who are
Okay.
15% of them are growing up, identifying as LGBT.
Wait, what? What?
Little children who are 15% of them are
I don't know if she said 15 or 50.
growing up, identifying as LGBTQ.
I recommended this back during the third 2-track No Items KO. Oh, yeah. No, I didn't forget about it. In fact, what is this music, Bible Thumb? This is just the fucking, all around me are familiar faces. This is the music that's playing in this highlight reel, I guess. This very brief highlight reel of this woman saying some insane shit. I don't know, truth be told. But no, yeah, I wanted to do more debate review stuff in general. I just followed that person. And this was like the first thing on that list, just to get me started, I guess. An insane conservative debate panel, why not? And then I think I had something else lined up for like a debate review as well. Oh yeah, the statistic about 15% of kids identifying as some kind of queer, like on the queer spectrum, that is true to the best of my knowledge. It's a little bit like left-handedness, where being left-handed was extremely stigmatized, but then we decided to actually stop beating the shit out of kids who used their left hand in schools. And then it seemed like the amount of left-handed kids increased, but then capped off at about 10%, where it remains today, and likely has been throughout all of history. Similar thing with being queer. As for where trans people and transness fits into all that, I think something like charitably 1%. Like if I had to give it a nice round number, about 1% of people are trans. And that number can vary from country to country. Someone needs to put a stop to Jubilee as a whole because they're not helping. I 100% agree. Yeah, especially in an election year, you know, very not helpful stuff.
And transgender, and we should not be giving a spotlight to or
El Bozo, the T in LGBT stands for transgender. You said the same thing twice. Debate lost instantly.
a platform to people who operate in a lifestyle where 40% of them end up attempting suicide.
Okay, and there's the 40% number. Like I said, they don't actually care about this because earlier she was attacking Blaire for being trans. The reason that that 40% number exists, which I think is attempted suicides among the trans community, the reason that number is that high is because of the lack of support for them being trans. Either they are in the closet and are being repressed actively, but identify themselves as trans when, you know, when they feel it is safe to do so, or they are out of the closet, but this has resulted in a number of their social connections being cut off. The 40% number is her fault. Her and people like her. The existing, like, conservative side of politics, that like conservative social attitudes that are extremely alienating to trans people, that is why that the rates of attempted suicide are so high. And wouldn't you know it, when trans people have access to medical care, to social means of social transition, to psychological help, and to strong social support networks, they don't attempt suicide. Because wouldn't you fucking know it, that's the same thing that would make anybody not attempt suicide. It's just like them being trans elicits such a strong disgust response from conservatives in their lives that they deprive them of the reason to live. But like I said, I you know, it's kind of a moot point because she doesn't care about this anyway. In fact, she likes that 40% number is as high as it is. And if I were to hazard a guess, she wishes that it could be higher because she has, at several points, either said directly or invoked arguments that imply that she simply views trans people as ontologically degenerate and not worthy of a place in, I guess, what she would call Western society. You know. Oh, hey. Shock dodge. This track is very confusing.
Suicide, you know, eventually. You know, 1 in 4 children growing up struggling with TQI gender dysphoria end up with depression, drug abuse.
Yeah, and the reason for such high rates of drug abuse and depression among kids with gender dysphoria is because highly dysphoric feelings that are unaddressed can lead to other bad things. You know, it's like being mentally ill, like having certain mental afflictions can compound on themselves when they're not properly addressed. And conservatives want to prevent kids from having the means to properly address those mental afflictions as a means of killing off as many trans people as possible. You know? Which sounds like very alarmist and hyperbolic, but it is true. That's why they constantly refer to the 40% number.
I think it's 80% of men have a higher risk of HIV. You know, why would I support that lifestyle?
Okay, obligatory HIV. Dude, you know what's actually really cool, though, about HIV is that it's basically like... There have been a lot of medical advancements in treatment of HIV to such an extent that it's no longer the crisis that it once was, which I think is a really big victory. Although, of course, somebody like Lauren Witzke is stuck in the 1980s when the anti-queer people had their heyday, when the government ordered the CDC to not do any research on HIV/AIDS. Pretty cringe. Oh my god, I got him! That was pretty cool. No, fucking penguin! Ah! Not driving great this race. Then again, it is a track that I don't know particularly well, so... Oh wait, this is actually a super cool concept! I can't believe I just now noticed that.
or try to use
Would it be fair to respond to
enable.
some of your statements real fast because I know.
And then finally the moderator.
Hard out.
And the moderator steps in. Yeah, okay. Original rant. This video isn't available anymore. Awesome.
I don't really know how much you know.
Loving that track. Loving some Bowser themed chaotic tracks. Yeah, I think that was a like ice and fire themed track where like more and more of the ice melted as the track went on. That was pretty cool. I liked it. Yeah, anyways, bog standard insane stuff from this conservative debate panel. I wasn't sure if he was even alive. Yeah, true. Sometimes you get debates and moderators like that. Yeah, so there's what do I even take away from that? That was 3 minutes of Nazi schizo posting. Don't do that. Don't be like that. Do not associate with people like that because they hate you. They hate everyone. They hate themselves. They do not like the concept of human happiness, as evidenced by the fact that she kept bringing up kids as though they were some sort of property to be zealously protected from interference from like, I don't know, degenerates who would also treat them as property. Like yeah, conservatism is just brain rot, basically, is what I'm getting from that debate panel, and should probably be everyone's takeaway from that debate panel. Because, while I think John Doyle and Lauren Witzk, to my knowledge, are not very active anymore, or, like, I haven't seen as much from them, Blaire White is still kind of out there, even though she's also not as active, and these are the people she's associating with, and she paints herself as like a more mainstream conservative who's like a maverick voice in the trans community and stuff, right? So like the window of how far right conservatives are has shifted way to the right recently as the trans panic has ramped up and stuff.